was looking at your media release, and I must say it was a very fair assessment. I looked at it in its entirety. You went on to say that, everything will not, naturally things will not be perfect. However, it is reasonable to expect that our leaders display a level of assessment and planning that inspires confidence. Now, I want to take it to a particular part where you found a correlation between, and I want you to elaborate, the results we saw that were not favorable. It leaves obviously some lots to be desired, and we're talking about the last set of results for CSEC and such.
Yes.
You saw a correlation between the declining results and what exactly? I would love for you to elaborate as to what the correlation between the declining results. Was it to do with the schools and the conditions of the schools? Because we'll get to the reopening just now, but I just wanted to start on that tip so you could just give some clarity to that part of your release.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about education, when you think about anything, you first start with the environment that you place our students and educators in. It's a question of mutual respect, of human dignity, that that persons are going out to learn and to work in a space. And so to me, one of the easiest places to start is to ensure that space is equipped for teaching and learning. And you start at the basics. Do they have the proper equipment? Do they have a building that is safe and secure and clean? And is it an enabling learning environment? And I've always said this, Jason, that if you can fix these small problems, then we'll have confidence that you can fix the bigger, more complicated problems. And so infrastructure is as easy as, is there an issue? Do we have the financial resources? And then getting it done. And annually, the education sector gets the biggest piece of the budgetary pie. And so I know it's not a resource problem. So the reason that we're seeing spaces in a dilapidated condition, we've all seen the photos of St. George's. We've seen photos of schools across the country, that simple things. Is the grass cut properly? Do they have proper desks and chairs and whiteboards, as the case may be? Are we in an enabling learning environment? And that's where I started, because I said, when students go out to school, when teachers go out to school, the first thing that they're going to see is their space. And if it is that as policymakers, a decision was taken not to maintain the space at an acceptable standard, we're already setting the tone off. We're already saying we're not even giving you the best chance to succeed physically, much less when we look at the more complicated issues of the curriculum and the past results, the exam results, etc.
What's your anticipation? What do you anticipate today? Because obviously, I know that you'll be have your fielders on the ground and doing your due diligence. Obviously, not every school, from what we understand, will be fit for purpose today. What's your recommendation? You suspect people will be going home. We might find ourselves having to report that during the course?
Well, it is my hope that everybody has a smooth sailing today. It is my hope that persons can, start the academic year. The academic year, like the new year, it's one, when you come out, you have a sense of hopefulness of that the year will be smooth. So I'm hoping for that. By and large, what I'm looking at will be, like I said, the infrastructural concerns, the schools themselves. I'm also in touch with a number of parents and PTAs with respect to school transportation, and persons who have reached out to me that the buses may have come off the network, and so their children are finding it difficult to find transportation to school. So I'm taking in all of these notes so that when we go into Parliament, I can raise the issues at a parliamentary level and not just within the media, because my hope is to get solutions for these parents. We're also looking at, like I said, so whether or not the school is open, whether or not children can get to school. We also have, I'm from South Trinidad, so we have a traffic issue as well. So we'll be monitoring that and what that means in terms of the commute. In my own constituency, we have the Bonaventure Bridge that was due to be completed with its repairs on August 30th, and we're not completed yet. So I know that we'll face some challenges, but it's just a question of keeping an eye out and finding quick solutions so that we're not going into the school term dragging along our problems. And again, just giving students the best chance for success in this academic year.
What's your position on the ministry's response to the teachers bringing up some of their industrial relation issues? I know the late payments. I know there are issues for insurance. I'm hearing that kind of discourse in the public domain. Just your take on the ministry's response to some of these industrial concerns.
Before the close of the school term, just before the close of the school term, I've been in touch with some of the substitute teachers and the early childhood care, those teachers who've been faced with their payments, their salary being delayed by months. Additionally, tutor has the concerns with insurance. And I mean, these things are, again, management and administrative issues. So it is not to say that the payments can be denied, the work has been done, or that the insurance would be denied. It's part of the package. What we're looking at is how do you treat with the people who literally have the next generation of Trinidad and Tobago in their hands, and to have delayed payments, have people protesting for basic needs. Because these aren't negotiations at this point, people are asking that if they've done the work, that they get the required compensation. And I hope that we can do away with these things again, knowing that by the end of September, early October, we'll be reading another fiscal package. The budget will be read. Let us understand that if you are allocating the money to education, make sure that the money gets there and it is effective, because it does not make sense to tell Trinidad and Tobago annually that you care about the education sector, so you're giving it all of this money. And whether it is by slow releases or varying the budget, that you are not giving the education sector the resources that are required to function effectively.
Yeah, I'm hearing reports that there might be, well, at least carded protest this morning at the Mountop Secondary. What's the latest you heard concerning that development? I think they're going to have a protest there with tutor this morning.
Yeah, I believe that then Mount Hope, and I think there's one other school that's looking at having some a space to raise their issues, to raise their concerns. It's just the way that we have to voice our concerns, getting to this point. When you get to the point of protesting, it means that you've exhausted all other avenues for dialogue. You've tried, you've written the letters, you've made the phone calls, you've tried the meetings, and now you have to try to raise public awareness to kind of force an issue through. And so wherever we see any type of protest action this morning, just know that parents, teachers, even tutor would have exhausted all other options before getting here. And it's just a way to get your voices heard. And hopefully that we move swiftly to a solution.
MP Haynes, Alan, I want to take it back to what we started off our discussion with, that correlation between the results and infrastructure. I know you would have mentioned safe space, a comfortable space conducive for learning. But I want probably for us to explore, or at least if you could tell me through your lens, what made that difference back then, back in the day when we probably went to school, or even our parents, and the conditions were less than complimentary in lots of regards. But still the results were, well, based on what we're seeing now, way better back then compared to now. Do you think there are sometimes other external distractions causing our students to fall short?
Oh, absolutely. That what I was introducing is that there's one additional point. You have to remember as well, for a lot of us, when we were in school, the buildings have since gotten older. And when you don't get a proper resolution to the problem, they would have met the problems we had, plus how many other years additional problems. So they are dealing with that. But absolutely, it's just one of the inputs. Like I said, to me, that is the simplest short-term fix that you can give persons a comfortable, safe learning environment. But there are other big issues. I mean, the children who are facing the examination spaces now would have been very young in, early in their education space during the pandemic, they faced the brunt of the adjustment, which means that they would have been, especially those who would be facing SE, would have spent the early part of their education life in during the lockdown period, coming back into physical school. And so what you're seeing is that we knew that they had a difficult time. We understood that more would be required to get them up to scratch, and we've dropped the ball on that. I mean, it's not difficult to think of the fact that if you were very young, starting out your schooling career, and you had to stop in physical schools, restart in physical school, and then get back into a learning environment, that these students will need extra assistance. And every year since the reopening of school, I have urged for more emphasis on the student support services, a greater emphasis on guidance counselors within the schools. Additionally, I mean, now we see the vacation revision program, which seeks to help students who've already written SE, who've not gotten the marks required to confidently enter the secondary school system, but you're looking at them at the standard 5 level. We also need to start looking at reintroducing homework centers, reintroducing additional help, because the students had an additional level of adversity when they started school. And so they really do need that extra hand up. And the exam results are just showing us something that we should have already known and should have already begun putting things in place, so that we're not now struggling to understand. And if we get that correct, if we course correct during the term, and in addition to looking at the curriculum and the academics, that you introduce things like conflict resolution, anger management. So you're also treating with the issue of school violence, you're treating with the issue of the mental health of the students within the school system. We will see a much improved education product when we start to think of the people who are participating in the education sector, teachers, students, educators as a whole, as whole people that require our assistance to just get ahead. We will, as opposed to numbers on a paper, we will really make a difference.
Yeah, thank you there for the perspective. Again, I saw the assessment there, a fair one indeed.